What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Saturday, July 4th, 2026, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 17:45 Eastern Time here in the United States. I wanted to update you on everything going on from around the world and from here in the US. Just wanted to wish everybody a happy Independence Day and happy 250th birthday of the United States of America. So hopefully there'll be another 250 years of this country, and hopefully we can leave this country to our kids and grandkids in a better shape than we got it. And speaking of Independence Day, right now we have all the celebrations going on in DC, and interestingly, we have two B-1 bombers flying over the DC area, and I'm assuming one of these is part of the celebrations. Looks like one is coming in really low right now, just south of DC. Maybe it's going to be doing a flyover. I'm not totally sure, unless it's going to be landing at Joint Base Andrews maybe. And then there's another one just south of the DC area, kind of where Patuxent River Naval Air Station is located. So this is pretty interesting. We also have a ton of aerial refuelers here. All these large planes are aerial refuelers, probably about 10 aerial refuelers in the vicinity of DC, probably to support fighter jets for security and force protection purposes. And we still have this massive heat wave gripping most of the United States east of the Rocky Mountains. Although today not as hot as yesterday, but the largest U.S. power grid operator issued an energy emergency alert because it is no longer able to provide expected energy requirements. According to the PJM Emergency Procedures website, electric utilities must begin cutting the energy load immediately. PJM ordered utilities to invoke energy cuts with customers enrolled in emergency electricity reduction programs to curb their use. PJM is battling energy or generator outages, overloaded transmission lines, and a surge in air conditioning demand during a prolonged heat wave. So if you guys are not aware, PJM is like the massive grid operator for like the entire eastern US and Midwest. It's called PJM Interconnection, and so they're telling utilities under their control to immediately curb electricity. Now we know in parts of New York, specifically New York City and the New York City metro area, they have already started cutting power to people's houses, which is totally insane. In an emergency alert activated in line with utilities conservation programs, PJM said the order applied to industrial and residential electricity users with contracts that pay them in return for mandatory consumption cuts during emergencies. The alert was issued to increase reserves on the system and avert outages during peak demand around 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday. PJM also notified neighboring regional grids, including in New York and the Midwest, that electricity exports from PJM may be curtailed, a procedural step that allows these neighboring regions to plan accordingly. Throughout the week, PJM escalated actions to conserve electricity as demand has approached an all-time record of 165 gigawatts, set 20 years ago. Wow, that is just totally insane. And check this out, guys. We got Air Force One taking off from Joint Base Andrews right now. This is really interesting. Very, very unusual. I wonder where it's going. And it looks like the B-1 is now heading back towards the Delaware or Chesapeake Bay, which is just totally insane. Very strange what's going on over here. I don't know if Air Force One is supposed to be doing a flyover, but it doesn't look like that B-1 did a flyover because it it didn't fly right over downtown DC. It just kind of curved south of DC and now is heading back. So I wonder if these B-1s are just on standby for contingency reasons. But the Air Force One going to the air is pretty interesting. And Russia is planning an armed provocation on Polish soil to test NATO's resolve, the U.S. has warned. Polish critical infrastructure could be targeted by missiles and drones, or Russian soldiers could cross the border into NATO territory. Washington has issued several warnings to Warsaw about the plot. The goal of the Russian provocation would be to escalate tensions and force Western allies to suspend aid to Ukraine. It could be launched in a matter of months. Polish security sources have also not ruled out a more conventional attack, such as a small ground incursion of Russian soldiers across NATO's eastern flank, which is the Baltics and Poland. Provocation scenarios could include a drone attack on critical infrastructure, such as power stations, or simulated airstrikes that would force Poland to activate its air defense systems. Armed incursions involving Russian or Belarusian soldiers is conceivable. This could be presented by Russia as an accidental straying into Polish territory because of a GPS failure or a dubious rescue mission to retrieve a helicopter suffering from a malfunction. Sources close to Karol Nawrocki, the Polish president, told the Polish news outlet Onet. Okay, so very, very concerning. Looks like the U.S. has intelligence that Russia is planning to attack Poland. And the Polish Prime Minister said the coming months could be critical. We are actively preparing. Wow. And Iran's parliament speaker and chief negotiator against the U.S., Mohammad Ghalibaf, has warned that Iran is prepared to resume military measures if the U.S. and Israel fail to honor their commitments under the recent Memorandum of Understanding. And that main commitment is no Israeli troops in Lebanon. And the Israeli troops are still there, so it doesn't look like there's going to be any peace deal, guys. Okay, that's just more of a pipe dream at this point. And Saturday's National Independence Day Parade in Washington, D.C. has been canceled by organizers due to extreme heat. And Ukraine launched a major Flamingo missile attack against Russia last night. At least one of the Flamingo missiles reached as deep as 800 miles into Russia, into the Chuvash region. Wow. And if you're not aware of what the Flamingo missiles are, these are Ukraine's newest cruise missile. It has a range of at least 1,000 miles, and it can carry a warhead of 1,000 pounds or even more. So these are like Tomahawk missiles on steroids. And last night also, Ukrainian drones attacked Moscow, the capital of Russia, and St. Petersburg, which is Putin's hometown, as well as other major cities across Western Russia like Yekaterinburg, Perm, and basically all the major cities across Western Russia got attacked by Ukrainian drones. And Putin showed up in military uniform yesterday, meeting with his top general, and he said that the more strikes the enemy attempts to carry out against civilian facilities in Russia, the larger the security zone we will have to create in the adjacent territory. So Putin showing up in military uniform is very rare, and for him to be meeting with his top general in military uniform and publicizing it is a major red flag, okay? And the U.S. offered to release $100 billion from frozen funds in exchange for Iran dropping its demand for tolls in the Strait of Hormuz, according to the Wall Street Journal. And the Russian military command held a staff exercise called Crimean Wake-Up Call, wargaming a Ukrainian amphibious assault on Crimea. And in recent days, there's been a lot of talk in Russia about Ukraine planning an assault on Crimea to try to take it back. And 41 Ukrainian civilians were killed in Wednesday night's Russian airstrike attack against Ukraine. So the numbers are increasing. And we know there's massive fuel lines in Russia right now, people waiting for fuel, gas, and diesel. Miles and miles of cars in this one video that's widespread on social media. Just, 5 miles of just cars lined up waiting for fuel, okay? And that's all because of the Ukrainian strikes. And the U.S. has informed Iran of its rejection to any changes in the current status quo in the Strait of Hormuz. And the U.S. and Iran are expected to hold their next round of direct talks in Qatar during the third week of July. So the soonest we're going to have talks is in 2 weeks, okay? Anything can happen between now and then. And several European governments now believe some form of transit fees for commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz are becoming unavoidable. European officials increasingly regard a compromise involving navigation or service fees as the most viable outcome rather than a reversion to pre-conflict conditions. Wow. So the Europeans have basically gave up. I mean, we look just super weak, guys. We look super weak. Iran has basically pushed us around, which is just so pathetic. And the Wall Street Journal reports the Pentagon was prepared to announce additional reductions to the U.S. military presence in Europe beyond previously canceled and withdrawn deployments, but the proposal was halted by senior White House officials. Instead, the administration opted to proceed with the 6-month U.S. force posture review announced by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth at last month's NATO defense ministers meeting. If accurate, the report suggests the administration remains divided over the space and scope of any future troop reductions in Europe. So that's very interesting. And 6 U.S. B-52 bombers that were deployed to the U.K. for the Iran war were moved back to the U.S. on Wednesday. And there's massive power and water outages in Russia, specifically in the Belgorod Oblast, which is right on the border of Ukraine, following massive Ukrainian strikes. Apparently they hit a bunch of electrical substations. And the death toll from the earthquakes in Venezuela has risen to 2,954, according to a report by Reuters. Wow, so that's the official death toll. Absolutely insane. And Cuba's president told Sky News that Cuba is preparing for war with the U.S. He said, quote, "If there is an attack, the Cuban people will respond in unity, firmness, and in defense of our sovereignty. We don't want the war, but we're not afraid of it, and we are getting ready so that we're not surprised or defeated." Wow, so it looks like Trump has Cuba in his sights, and that's going to be the next front to open up. And according to financial disclosure reports, Trump earned $2.2 billion in personal income in 2025. And look what's going on right now with these flights over the D.C. area. We now have this B-1 bomber being trailed by several aerial refuelers and a C-17. They're doing this giant loop, so maybe they're staging to do a flyover. And now we have another B-1. This other B-1 here is coming in really low over the D.C. area. It's right now at 1,600 feet. Looks like it's going to do a flyover, and Air Force One is gaining altitude, so and heading south. So I don't know if it's going to Florida or what's going on over there, but looks like this B-1 is about to fly right over downtown DC, so that should be pretty cool. I do have my 24/7 live stream up and running right now with cameras from the Washington Monument and near the Kennedy Center. So if you want to hang out in the stream, and you can probably see the fireworks from those cameras, I'll have that stream going. And until the next time, take care. God bless. Happy Independence Day. Happy 250th birthday to the United States of America. I absolutely love this country. But we have to remember that God is in control, and the reason why America has gotten so successful, why we have such a powerful military, such a high quality of living, really great medicine, is because of God's blessing, okay? God blessed us with all these things, so never forget that. And if He blessed us with all that, that means He can also take it away, okay? So just remember to thank God for all the blessings that we have in this country. And it looks like this B-1 is about to fly right over downtown DC. You can see it's coming in right now. Looks like it's about to fly right over Arlington. But until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 P's: prepare, practice, and persevere. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is Matt Hat Jerky. Guys, if you're a beef jerky lover like myself, you got to try Matt Hat Jerky. This is the best beef jerky I've ever had. I personally met the owner of this company at SHOT Show, and he's actually local to Pennsylvania. This company has an interesting story behind it. He founded this company when he was 11 years old. Yeah, that's right, 11 years old. He's now 19, and he makes gourmet beef jerky, the best jerky I've ever had. He's got over a dozen different flavors, and it's all sourced with U.S. beef, so no foreign beef, no nitrates, and no MSG. So it's all natural American beef jerky. And if you use my promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And you got to go to matthatjerky.com, and I'm going to leave a link in the description down below. That's matthatjerky.com, one word, matthatjerky.com. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off your entire order, and the link and the promo code are in the description down below. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.